What was your relationship with Indiana Jones during this time?
Didn't have one.
Okay,
I didn't discover Indiana Jones.
Key.
Yeah.
I think you have, but you love Jurassic Park, and I get a vibe of that. Not as much. This is much more fun.
Well, no, I would have loved Indiana Jones.
You would have, but not having that on your palette, I think, allowed you to really embrace this. Where I think it would have been harder for me because it's so trying. It's not even. I mean, it's not even like hiding it.
It's trying to occupy the space that Indiana Jones had in the 80s.
Absolutely.
And they would, I'm sure the filmmakers would say like, no, we're just inspired by the stuff that Indiana Jones is inspired by, adventure movies from the 30s and 40s and movie serials.
Archaeologists. Oh, is it a good time now to bring up that there's nothing archaeology can't do to give you a boner?
Me?
It is a theme in your movie, sir. Give you an archaeologist.
Really?
Boner time. Yep.
Well, do tell.
Well, now, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, The Mummy. I only need 3 to make a list. I just said 3 things.
Wouldn't you say everyone likes those 3 movies?
I know that I do.
Yeah.
But if you really watch an archaeologist do his work with his little paintbrush and tiny chisel, they're not as... It's weird how it can really... I mean, it's just whatever.
Look, I've acted like you're wrong, but once again, you're right. Because there's something about this shit that I just eat it up. Like I can't. I have a hard time being a sober-minded film critic and viewing it objectively.
Oh, this is this is when it's when I have doubts about everything about you.
Really?
Because you're wrong.
Well, just I tried to sit through. I sorry. I do want to take a step back and view the series.
Are you about to say that you couldn't finish 3? You tried to watch the 3rd Mummy.
Hold your camels, okay?
I'm gonna hold my sphinx, my sphincter.
What?
I'm holding, yeah.
Because you're gonna shit everywhere.
Oh my god! This is not this kind of podcast. It's very scat of you.
This isn't My Dad Wrote a Porno.
I love that podcast.
This is Lacey and Matt.
All right, come on, go.
Go to the movies. No, but the history of the Mummy series is very interesting. I want to give sort of a broad overview of that before we talk about the individual movies. But
you keep being interrupted.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm just a sucker for give me a mummy, give me some sand, give me some bandages, and give me some curses.
You're
and
hats.
No, we accidentally resurrected a thing. And I'm all in because I love the mixture of just take something from history and make it, tie it into something mystical and vaguely offensive and insensitive to a foreign culture. And then,
or to a species, dinosaurs.
So that I even when it's bad, I like to watch it. It's like
you were reveling in the badness. The worse it got, the more your smile went.
Oh, but I would argue it's not bad. No, it's not bad.
Yeah, your argument would be incorrect.
Because I tried to watch. I did successfully watch The Mummy 2017. Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and for an hour, I was like, I mean, this isn't terrible. It's got stuff I like. And by the end, I was just working. I had it on a screen and I was just doing work and not paying attention. It was bad. And
it's a Tom Cruise one? The one with the really creepy looking lady mummy?
Yeah.
Oh.
It has some good stuff, but it's just so poorly directed and so crassly conceived.
All 3 of these movies have good costuming.
Yes, they do.
I was drawn to the look of the set pieces weren't great, but the costuming was good.
What do you mean by set pieces?
I wasn't buying that they were really the desert was fine. Mm-hmm. And sort of any of the tomb stuff, that's easy enough. Although it did feel very Legends of the Hidden Temple the whole time.
Yeah.
It didn't feel dirty enough. But everything after Game of Thrones is ruined for me for period pieces because things are truly muddier, dirtier, disheveled. People don't... Anytime anyone looks pristine, it just doesn't resonate with me as being in that period of time.
Right.
And this movie wasn't trying to do that.
It's not trying to do that, right. But I totally get what you're saying. It's hard to look at any sword and sandals fighting thing anymore.
Yes. So I know it wasn't striking that tone. I was just saying, they were fine. They weren't distractingly bad. But what was good and seemed better than it needed to be was their outfits. You probably didn't notice.
No, I never notice outfits, which I need to. Like when like I read movie reviews or I hear people talking about movies and they talk about the costumes and they talk about like hairstyles and stuff, I sort of zone out and then I feel bad. I'm like, well, that's just as important as
it's an art.
A part of the making of the movie.
It's a historical
as anything else.
Artifact, just like Mad Men, right? Like to get those details right is to do right by the history.
Sure, but like if you set a movie in 2020 and gave like a woman a certain kind of hairstyle, that's a deliberate choice that's supposed to inform you about who the character is. And I never noticed stuff like that, and I don't appreciate it enough.
Well, but you appreciate things I never would. So, I mean, you know, yin yang.
So maybe we won't get divorced.
Call Anita. That's our attorney's name.
Anita?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you were confused about the name of our attorney.
Oh.
Because we do have an attorney. And I was like, Jessica?
That's not our attorney.
Jessica? So, let me take you back to 1922.
Jesus Christ.
The tomb of King Tutankhamun is excavated. And this causes a sensation worldwide. People go gaga.
Oh, you're saying for real?
Ancient Egypt, yeah.
For realsies? Okay.
This is funny that like they buried these mummies everywhere, all the ancient Egyptians. And ancient Egypt,
you're gonna say America did, and like that's what, let's go dig up one in the 20s. And what is this? Like staged burials. Never mind. I misunderstood.
Well, so the ancient Egyptian kingdoms, which lasted for like 2,000 to 5,000 years.
Wow.
So you have lots of history of just mummies everywhere.
And yet they never learned how to draw a person face on. Only profile shots in all art, cave dwellings.
Well, it was considered a profile shot was obscene.
But profile shot is what they have, so they're being obscene.
Their side. No, if they're looking directly into the camera.
That's their profile. A profile is the side of your face.
Well, no, and I was just about to try to convince you that that's because it was considered unholy.
Well, so now we'll skip that stupid joke?
Yeah, we'll skip it.
Great. Anita, it's fine.
So this... Oh, well, they're burying mummies everywhere forever. And none of them are dug up until the 19th century when Napoleon and the French army invade Egypt. And they're like, nice catacombs you have everywhere. Why don't we go in and see what's in them?
Nice pointy
catacombs.
And
that's the beginning of mummies being discovered.
And that's when they first realized that pyramids are like a tribute to somebody and their wealth is buried inside of them.
I'm sure they knew beforehand, but this is the beginning.
Why wouldn't they go excavate them way before?
I don't know, because Egypt was controlled by the Ottoman Empire, who were not going to allow them for religious reasons.
Do you think they convinced a lot of
I am not
gringos?
an Egyptologist.
Do you think they convinced a lot of European types that curses were real? I mean, because like curses are a prevalent part. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer for keeping your treasures safe from people who live long, who live longer than you, who come later. Like, don't open that book of diamonds. It's haunted by spider babies.
It's a great way to keep your shit safe.
Yeah. I put "this home is haunted" on top of the vector security sign. Thought it was more effective.
More effective than vector security, am I right?
God.
We just fist bumped.
Boom.
So, 1922, King Tut, sensation. Mummies, America, and the world really have got Egypt fever. And
who doesn't love a 13-year-old king? And
so in 1932, Universal Studios gets put on the map by creating a series of monster movies. First, Dracula. I think Dracula comes first and then Frankenstein. And then the star of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff, makes a movie called The Mummy.
Get out.
The Mummy.
Get out.
The Mummy.
No, really, get out. The Book of the Dead needs to get out.
I've seen the movie. I saw that movie one time when I was in high school, and then I watched it again a few days ago.
Did you like it, or were you pretending like you do with all black and white movies?
No, it's.
Oh no, you just admitted that's fine. And moving on. And moving.
They're weird to watch because they're made so soon after sound movies become a thing.
Oh.
And so there's so many parts of it that look like a silent movie. Mm-hmm. And the soundtrack is weird, like for like Dracula and Frankenstein.
Does it move a whole lot without any words being said? Kind of a thing, like they just didn't know where to sprinkle it in. You're kind of just
you're just
a fly on the wall instead of like being brought into the story in like a more first person kind of way.
So you watch these, that lends it a sort of eeriness.
Well, yeah, because you feel like a voyeur instead of like you're being invited to look. You feel like you just found some found footage. Like, well, there's that man running from that thing.
Right.
Someone should help him.
It's like if you watch a movie from 1925 or a movie from 1945, both of them look more contemporary than this short period of time when sound films.
Tell me again the period of time.
This is 1932. And if you watch the 1932 Mummy today, I'm not saying you would be like, wow, what an exciting movie or what a scary movie, or I
can guarantee you. I wouldn't say wow.
I think you would appreciate it. You'd be like,
I don't like things.
It's funny that so many elements of the 32 Mummy were taken over to the 1999 movie, but none of the actual plot. But like it involves Imhotep.
What's Imhotep? Oh, the lady. The lady.
Imhotep is the mummy himself. The high priest.
The man mummy.
The man mummy. And he's trying to resurrect Anck-su-namun, who in the 1932 version they call Ankh-su-namun. Same spelling, different pronunciation.
Okay.
Language.
So they took two names. Wow, how crazy.
Yes. Well, somebody accidentally resurrects a mummy.
What else would you do?
I guess
your choices are you don't do anything with a mummy and then you title your movies weird. Second one, you do it on purpose and then your motives are weird.
I guess you're right.
Okay.
So 1999.
Man, they really took on a lot of that IP.
I'm going to tell you what they brought.
I should stop interrupting.
Director Stephen Sommers and Universal Studios, they're like, let's make it a new mummy. Bringing it back. This movie, the 1999 movie, is made for a pretty modest budget, $80 million, which is like, it's a lot, but...
For an action movie.
But like Wild Wild West, which came out the same year, cost more than twice as much as The Mummy.
Load-bearing beam.
I mean, I watched it all the time when I was a
wow.
kid, so I don't think it applies.
Jim West.
And like, you know that movie sucks, right?
I would watch it again so fast.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
With Macy? Could we? Is it kid friendly or their tits?
Well, there's a woman. I recall a woman's like top boob,
top butt
being very evident because Will Smith and her are making
drumming on how's your mom and them? Yep.
They're in the thing that a train gets water from. You know what I'm talking about?
A train does. It's the water tower for the town. Why do you think a train gets water from it?
It's a water bucket at a train station. A steam train needs water, and you pull the steam train up to the thing, and they put an arm out.
No, I think they're in the town's water supply.
Motherfucker! I guarantee you,
Anita. All right, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, fine. There's top butt. Selma Hayek is wearing the long johns of Klein, and the flaps open. Her top butt. Yeah, we're not showing Macy top butt.
Who do you think we are?
Top butt promoters?
Europeans.
European, not me.
The movie's made for it's a big budget. There's some really advanced special effects by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic.
I've got a note about that bullshit.
All right. But it's kind of budgeted. It's a big budget movie made on a budget. You get your star is Brendan Fraser, who was kind of omnipresent, but also it's not like he wasn't Bruce Willis. Like, we're not going to go get Mel Gibson.
He reached where he were going to get. Yeah. He's perfectly fine and a little heartthrobbish and young.
I would argue he's outstanding.
Oh, I like him a lot. I just mean
I wish he would make movies right.
I don't think he was wise in what he chose to do. He went for doofus boner dude one too many times. This is like one of the most grown up things I've ever seen him do. I can't think of a role where he did something more straight faced. All the other movies are very stupid.
The Quiet American.
Never seen it.
Gods and Monsters.
Never seen it.
Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Never.
Yeah, there's this.
But you will admit he was in a huge row of doofus white man movies.
Here was there was this
answer me
article. I'm answering you by saying this.
Great.
There was this article. I know it's frustrating. 2 years ago, there was this GQ article called "What Happened to Brendan Fraser" or "Where Did Brendan Fraser Go" or something, and there was this really good quote in it, like about what the Brendan Fraser appeal is. It's like Fraser was gentle and eager and apparently guileless, and we as a country decided that was something we wanted as frequently as he would provide it, and so he spent some of the best years of his life doing his best to do just that.
Mm-hmm. You got pigeonholed.
That wasn't the thing I wanted. That wasn't it, though.
You'll spend more time on the podcast reading things you didn't want to say.
For much of the 1990s, Fraser spent a lot of time emerging wide-eyed from bomb shelters or Canada or the rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like his appeal was that he looked like a newborn baby as a man. Like he's just like very very wide-eyed at the world. And that's what the Brendan Fraser thing is.
But his voice is very soothing. And like you said, he was gentle. And he's like a big guy with a really soft touch.
Yeah. And doesn't take...
And butt cuts.
Isn't it taking it that seriously?
Right.
Playful. He's playful. And that's what the reason the 1999 Mummy is so good is that it's playful. Is that it's like intense enough to be thrilling, but it's like goofy enough where you're like...
It's intense. There's nothing intense about it. But you're absolutely right. It's the knowing parts that are the best parts of this. And him knowing what he's doing. I'm saying, like, you know, being in on the joke. But yeah, this is an adventure movie. It's kind of silly, but yeah, calm down.
Yeah. So Rachel Weisz is the female lead, and she's really not like a big movie star at the time. And so it's just in all these ways, you have the appearances of a major like summer blockbuster tentpole movie. I was listening to the movie podcast Blank Check, which is great. People should listen to it.
Yes.
Recently talked about the movie Stargate, directed by Roland Emmerich.
Ask me if I've seen it.
Who went on to make Independence Day. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, they were talking about how he was really good at making the most of his budgets by having tons of special effects for portions of the movie, but then in kind of ways you don't notice, like the characters are spending a lot of time in the same rooms over and over again. And then maybe an action sequence will take place in a place and then later on you'll return to the place.
Right.
So you get a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah.
So I heard that. And then we watched the 99 Mummy movie and I was like, oh, that's what this movie is doing.
That's why they call it The Mummy Returns. They return to the same set pieces. You're welcome.
Not in return, they don't.
I know,
but in the
Matt.
first Mummy movie, I didn't notice when I was a kid, but as watching it as an adult, you're like, oh, this is kind of like really small.
That's how it felt.
It starts in the tombs of the mummy, and then that's also where the climax takes place. And in between, they just go to like a city and they hang out in some hotel rooms.
It happens
the mummy
in the second. Happens in the second one as well.
The second one's a journey.
Okay, but they definitely use that same fucking temple of the
I'm
whatever.
sure they did.
I know they did.
So we watched part one. We watched Mummy 99 to get ourselves, primed.
Worthwhile.
Unlike the 32 Mummy, the 32 Mummy.
Why are we even comparing it to the thing that we only took two names in the act of reviving?
Actually, the Ardet Bey, the Magi soldier, protector Pharaoh's ancient bodyguards, guardians
Post Malone.
of Hamunaptra.
You don't get my Post Malone joke?
No.
Face tattoos. Oh, fine.
Oh, of course.
You don't know anything.
Ardet Bey was the name that Imhotep used to pass as a human in the 1932
Superhuman name.
movie.
Mm-hmm. All right,
whatever.
Arted Bay Smith.
It's 2001.
Oh, God, I'm there.
It's...
Give me...
What, March or
a
something?
A midriff shirt.
No, maybe it's April or May.
A belt made of bottle caps. And a rave to attend. And I'm there.
Give me a movie theater.
Wow.
To go to on Friday night.
Cool
with
guy
my friends.
alert.
This was one of the only periods of my teenage years where I had friends.
That's nice.
I was dropped off at the movies to hang out with a girl I liked. And her friend.
Doesn't count as a friend. And the girl's friend doesn't count as your friend either.
They were my friends. They were my...
Nope, they're not your friends.
You're right.
They're girlfriend targets and a hangers-on.
So what you're positing...
You had no friends.
What you're positing is that...
You were always in need of me.
Men and women can't be friends because it always leads to...
Okay. No, I'm just saying those people were not your friends.
Well, we get dropped off at the movies and my friends are like, screw this. Let's go have pizza.
Oh.
So we walked away across the movie theater parking lot to the pizza place. And as we're on our way, the girl's mom who dropped them off spins around in her car and comes upon us and says, "What do you think you're doing?"
That's the scariest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. So she picks up the two girls and drives them home and strands me right there in the parking lot.
Not your friends.
Yes. How could they do that to me?
Now you don't have a ride home.
So I turn. Well, I do, but my mom's coming.
on.
My mom's coming later. So I have to go back and I watch The Mummy Returns, and I'm very sad.
Okay.
Now, it's a year later, and I watch it on home video, and that's when I already said that. That's when it became my movie.
Oh, great.
All right, but this movie was very poorly reviewed. It made less money than Mummy 1.
And they spent all their money because they threw every goddamn thing into it.
Not that much more money, though. I was surprised because I was watching
CGI
it.
fountain?
Shut up.
Okay.
As I was watching it, I was like, boy, you could tell they got a much bigger budget and they're just throwing so much shit in here.
I didn't say it looked good.
They only got $20 million more for the sequel. But, all right. You just tell me your gripes with this movie before I tell you why this movie's wonderful.
Because it doesn't know what the fuck it is. And just a small sample of the things they try to throw at you all in one movie. Mummies, dirigibles, visions, reincarnation, treasure, hawk carrying messages, creepy cannibal skeleton babies.
These are just reasons why it's
quicksand,
awesome.
Army of dog sphinxes. Oh, and The Rock.
Yeah, that was
The Rock and oh wait, I have more. One of them is a reincarnation of a pharaoh's daughter, and that's the mom. And then the other one is a warrior for God who's in denial about that, and that's the dad. Do they all need some of the best movies are based on just people. Mm-hmm. What are they trying to do?
I agree with you there. I think that's the worst part of this movie.
It's not. You could have the whole thing and not have that part.
Totally. That is my critique of the movie is they're just way too overstuffed with shit.
Yes. And
that's the least interesting. That's the part that really doesn't work. And it's the part that sort of misunderstands why the first movie was so good.
Exactly. And okay, one thing that I loved about this movie, Rachel Weisz's eyebrows have filled in. Thank heavens. I know that the 1920 eyebrows were true to style, but they're very hard to watch in the first movie. Anyway, so here's what would have made it better for me. One, good parenting, giving a shit about your child. That turns me off from the very beginning of the movie. Why was he left alone in a temple?
It was the 30s. You didn't watch your kids back then.
But you don't put them in a temple.
They were tougher for it.
You at least leave them in like the camel wagon or whatever the hell is outside with the brother. The brother's not up to anything.
Yeah, but these people are explorers. They're adventurers.
Yes,
and they want to instill that sense of adventure in their kid. They're not going to coddle their kid. There are no participation trophies with the O'Connells.
They're not including him. They're not taking him into the adventurous area. They're letting him have his own adventure
in the less dangerous part of the catacomb.
The part that is overrun with criminals.
Well, they didn't know they were going to be there.
That's the fucking problem, Matt. That they're in a treasure hotspot and they leave him as the freaking watch out in the front of the thing. He's the canary in their coal mine. If I see the rushing of blood from my son from the entry point.
The Mummy Returns to get parenting advice, okay?
Well, it's hard to watch it as a parent and see all the flaws. Plus, quit being so hardcore horny for each other in front of everyone, including your poor child, who has mentioned it on several occasions.
Yeah, but that's funny.
That it's not funny, it's weird.
It's funny.
Get out of that.
I like the kid.
Get a fucking bedroom.
Telling him to get a room.
Yes, because they do everything in the hall or right in front of them on the freaking dirigible.
They really like each other.
Do it in a way that doesn't make your kid scarred for life. It's rude. Anyway, you remove that whole she's seeing visions and stuff. Look, she's smart as a whip. She's the reason why they find everything they do in the first one and get through everything the way that they need to. They've already set up the fact that she is insanely book smart and knows how to read the different signs and understands the culture enough to know how to find the little pulley that opens the thingy so that worked perfectly without all the mystical stuff in the first one. So also she gets a taste for adventure in the first one. So she could have spent that time, like 5, 7, 9 years, however long been since the first adventure, in training and in training in the weapons of the time she's curious in. That'd be fine too. She's clearly got disposable income. She works at a goddamn museum, kind of. They don't even like her there. So, or they like her.
Well, is this
not shit. So she had time. She could have learned to fight. Honestly, I don't need her to be possessed by the pharaoh's daughter, who has no reason to be mad at Entenumrumah, because that lady just didn't want to be a slave to her father anymore. Like, how dare you not fuck my dad? My dad's a great fuck. Like, why was she so upset? I mean, yes, they stabbed him, but she was mad before that. daddy's girl little jerk.
She was mad that the woman engaged to her father is kissing another man who is not her
She doesn't
father.
want to be owned and have to hang out next to a cat statue all the time.
Yeah, but the privileged can't understand the way the lower classes
Exactly.
feel.
So who am I supposed to be rooting for? The modern day woman who lives in a giant mansion that she earned based on nothing?
I appreciate
or the Pharaoh
your
daughter.
Marxist reading of The Mummy Returns. I really do. But let me say that
wealth created a degenerate gambler womanizer brother who is nice 3 days of every year, and he still steals stuff when he's being really nice, including the top of ancient pyramids that are.
So you're no longer talking about Pharaoh's wealth. You're
I am talking about her
Evelyn
brother
and her brother.
Yeah, and where are these
Jonathan,
damn parents?
who are wealthy and very famous explorer.
And then she is a sexed up narcissist who likes to do all kinds of adventures with her son as some accessory, not planning any Disney vacations. I know that didn't exist yet, but something safe, something where they could all be together. No, I want to go to a cave where I go down the her path, you go down the his path, and he goes down to the kids' play place with the ball pit and the fucking Pharaoh's asshole or whatever. She's not thoughtful. She's just sexy and smart.
God, you're still talking about this.
Yeah, bad parenting.
But you know, in the first movie,
Mhm.
she doesn't get to like fight anybody or anything. So you know that there was like a studio note.
What did I
where
just say?
I'm explaining why this had to happen. They're like,
You
well,
know,
we need
you don't need to. I'm saying they were stupid to write it that way when they could have explained it by her having time on her hands and having had a taste for adventure, decided to pour herself into what she would really need to do.
What I'm going to say is that you don't need her to fight at all. It's this.
I
thing-
love the fighting parts, but they could have done it where she earned it, not where she was possessed. Why don't you get how that's better?
I don't necessarily think that that's better because you're going to have a scene at the beginning of the movie where it's like, whoa, boy, Evie, you've really been working hard on your training. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I wonder if that's going to come into play later in the movie.
Fine. That's less annoying than I was the Pharaoh's daughter.
I don't think it's that much better.
Whatever.
But I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
Great.
I just think that you don't have to make her this, complain about how there aren't good female protagonists, and the female protagonists that are held up as awesome are the ones who act the most like men, who act most badass. And so make her more Hermione-esque, and she's the one who figures everything out because she's the smart one. She doesn't have to be the one. She doesn't have to be fighting with
Exactly.
Yeah.
And half naked. That aggravates me. Why did she have to get dressed like that, do a split, and perform for her dad and her dad's right hand man in front of? And it's just all very sexual. And then you find out, oh, she's special because that's her dad. Gross. Yeah. Anyway,
I hope people who are listening to this have seen this movie because you're mixing a lot of stuff. Because you're now talking about the portions that take place in ancient Egypt when her like ancient ancestor is fighting.
Every single time I'm talking about her dad, I'm clearly talking about that time period.
Yeah.
So I'm not mixing anything.
But this isn't literally Rachel Weisz's character Evie. This is her ancestor.
But they took the literal actress and said, you know what would be better about you? Nudity. Because they gave her cleavage in every single shot of the movie, which I wasn't hating. But then that wasn't enough. Now let's be in a bikini for a bit. But don't worry, it's part of your very earned. Okay, and if this was their way, are you saying that this is another example of them not giving a woman the best?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because what I liked about the first one was that she dressed perfectly. She looked like she was dressing for her, and she did things her way, which they allude to that a bunch of times in the second one. Okay, let's do things your way, which means this sensible, let's use our brains, and she was a nice counterbalance to what he was. And in this one, she just was a woman him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. I watched a video essay about why The Mummy was great. I forgot the YouTuber's name, but he said...
The original?
The 99 one. Whenever people talk about it, they always say the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
That makes sense.
I think it's like, that's how it's just... That's like his legacy. It's like, that's your movie. That's the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Well, and distinguishes it from the one before and then the Tom Cruise Mummy. So you kind of have to. You're saying they don't say the Tom Cruise Mummy?
No, I feel like they more say maybe they do.
Okay.
But the thing that everybody remembers about it is Brendan Fraser. Anyway.
Yeah, he's great.
Whereas the thing that they all remember about the recent Mummy is not Tom Cruise, but the craven corporate forces that made it.
IBM.
This YouTuber said that when you have a movie where people have to go up against like a godlike supernatural force, that they spend the whole movie not being able to hurt him until somebody at the end gets godlike powers and then can fight the person one-on-one. And he said the charming thing about the mummy, the first mummy, is that doesn't happen. They use swords and guns and dynamite all throughout the movie, and nobody has to become supernatural to be able to defeat him. Yeah. Which I really liked.
He keeps it simple.
And in the sequel, they're like, no, actually, Rick is the reincarnation of a Sacred Order of the Magi.
Like, right. He's a god warrior, and she's they just both didn't need crazy backstories.
They didn't. But the movie opens.
They also have 2 sidekicks. Seems like too many.
Who are the sidekicks?
And a kid. Well,
they have Jonathan.
You got Post Malone. You got Jonathan. And then you got the kid. It's just a lot.
Well, Post Malone, Ardette Bay.
Yeah. Arnett Bay Smith.
Ardette Bay is not a sidekick. And one thing that I like about this movie is he has his own movie that he's living through.
It's true. He kind of comes and goes like, well, I'm done.
But he's like, it's like he's almost a co-lead of the movie because he has his own journey. He's rallying his troops. Yeah. He's doing his spy work. And he gets called away to his own movie, and Brendan Fraser's like, but I need you to help me find my son.
Just like Professor What's-His-Nose and Richie Rich. He seems like he's in his own movie, too.
Professor Keenbean, exactly. Yeah. And Ardette looks very torn, and he says, I shall help you find your son. And I was
it's like, I was in the middle of doing something with my boys, but
it was a nice moment.
Well, you don't say no to Brendan. Do you see that smile? His teeth are amazing.
It's the power of friendship and companion.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
You love friendship.
And teeth. I love friendship. It's weird that I don't have any friends for someone who's such a fan of friendship.
You don't recognize it when it's there.
That's true.
And that's fucked up to say to all your friends that are listening, you asshole.
They're not listening.
They're all... Who do you think listens to this? You never accept that you have friends.
Sorry, God.
It's not that you don't have them. It's just that you don't think you deserve them. Do you want to get into this?
That's certainly true.
Oh, God. You owe them all flowers now.
Don't deserve any of you. Except Patrick. So.
Okay. And,
because he sucks.
He does suck.
And he doesn't listen to this.
Fucking suck ass.
I will probe him and be like, hey, Back to the Future Part 2, your favorite movie, huh? Listen to this podcast? And
like, no.
I'll get around to it.
Am I going to be on it? No.
Where was I?
I don't fucking know. Oh, that she was written to be a male him, and that's the biggest flaw of the movie.
I was past that.
Oh, good, because
The movie opens, and Ardette Bay is narrating, and he's like, the Scorpion King, conquested, then defeated. Now the army of Anubis waits
the weakest
to be woken up. And I was just I was so happy. I was like, they're there waiting to be woken up. It's great.
But why... this movie had too many, things done.
Way too many things.
I mean...
Because you have the Scorpion King, and you have Imhotep, and you have...
the guy that works at the museum, who's using the other guy as the warrior. But, I don't think they do enough to explain, okay, you need to care about this crazy bad guy and girl, because they're going to defeat this bad guy that we gave 1.5 minutes to in the beginning because his acting was so atrocious that it had to be completely dubbed over with voiceover work, and they barely showed The Rock. I feel like they had a much bigger idea for him, and then he needed 27 takes to say, oh.
Well, no, they always intended to give him a spinoff. This was the launch of The Rock's movie career was very carefully managed.
Well,
The Scorpion King came out 1 year later, and that was his first leading man role. It didn't do that well, but people kind of liked it. But it's like,
you can't have Rock with hair. It ruins the whole vibe. He needs to be hairless unless he's animated.
I suppose.
Okay.
I think that this is the only movie where he's billed as The Rock. Because after this, he was always Dwayne The Rock Johnson until eventually he was Dwayne Johnson. But in this one, he's The Rock.
That was a smart move.
Oh, but you see The Rock on screen and you're like, there's a movie star, right?
Absolutely. I want him to be so good, but I hate that he's instantly impotented with his very weird hair. I mean, he's very handsome, natural. The hair is such a distraction. And then you put him in a loincloth and it's like, I don't even know where to look right now.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to take him seriously as someone who's trying to really empower this army because I can see his nutsack and his wig.
You can't follow a leader who's nutsack, you see.
I can't see your weave and your nutsack at the same time.
Sun Tzu said that.
And then they go and fucking CGI him. I think they had a CGI budget that they just didn't spend up all the way. So they added a whole bunch of needless stuff all over the movie. I mean, for me, it really indicated this must have been a time when they grasped CGI technology enough that it just became easier for the budget, because they really, I could do with almost all of it not existing.
The first movie has a lot of practical effects, practical mummies,
which I like.
People in costumes with makeup, and it augments them with CGI. And then there's some explicitly CGI things. And I think it all looks pretty good. There's a lot of shit in Mummy Returns that looks great. I think everything with Imhotep looks good. The Scorpion King at the end is notoriously terrible.
It's amazingly bad.
And then those Anubis warriors that just burst into
that's
powder.
Fine. I like anything you can kill with one blow. It feeds the child in me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in me, that I can just go boom, and then they turn into a fucking sandcastle.
It's a lot like an arcade game with a shooting thing, a shooter.
Oh, and no one's ever had better aim than the people in these. I've never seen so many shot and dead moments, or just one shot incapacitated. But in both movies, the use of a automatic weapon really throws me off. It doesn't seem right for the time.
I guess
I know
it
existed, but like a Tommy gun were for mobsters, not good guys. What illegal arms trading were these totally normal Western people into? That's illegal.
What? Who gives a fuck?
I want to know.
You do?
No.
Wouldn't that have been boring if you'd been told? All right, let's say what we like about this movie.
I already did. Her eyebrows.
Oh. Well, let me see what I like.
The kid grew on me. If he didn't have an accent, I would have hated him.
I fucking hate kids. This kid seems like he's going to be a problem.
He does seem like
not great, but
his accent
not
though.
Bad.
Right?
Well, I mean, yeah, all British kids can.
But then he said funny-ish. He was fine.
Yeah.
I felt like they were trying to pull a Culkin. They weren't going to get that out of this kid, and then he was fine.
I was getting Jake Lloyd vibes. You've not seen Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, but
I know that kid actually is on the cover.
Yeah.
Next to Ewan McGregor.
And he's not that.
Is it Ewan McGregor?
Yeah. And Liam Neeson. Good job!
I want wife points, asshole.
15 wife points to you. Other things I like about the movie.
Besides her eyebrows?
Besides her eyebrows.
Okay.
I love these people. I love all of these people. I love the actors, and I care about them deeply as characters.
Okay.
And when I was 14 and when I felt like this is my franchise, like I learned how to use the internet to go learn about Oded Fehr and Arnold Vosloo and see what's going on in their careers.
That's nice.
And like, I just wanted them to all be okay.
I will say, I give it much credit for giving me too many people to care about. Or, yeah, it's the opposite of what my complaint has been in the past about some of the movies you've chosen, in which there is no one to like. The only one I don't love is the mom. And I like her. I just don't feel like she's a good mom. I don't know. I know. I don't want that to bother me, but it
does.
The rest of us have to think about it. Why is
we all have our biases. I can't help but like movies about mummies, and you can't help hating movies about bad mummies.
All she wants to do is fuck and
come on,
splurplunk. Splunk it.
Splunk, yes.
Splunk it.
Spurlunk. Yeah.
With her
hunk.
Oh, I was gonna say unk. I was gonna be like incesty with it. That's better. Say hunk.
Everything's better with incest.
Well,
I'm just saying, why is it so bad?
A detached mom? Because
incest.
Because inside of me is my no. I thought I was talking about something else.
Well, like, you know how everyone's making fun of Rudy Giuliani for marrying his cousin?
No.
Like, I'm just saying, like, who,
Why are we doing this?
I don't know. I'm trying to. Maybe it'll be a recurring bit that I like incest.
And the devil.
That's not a bit. I love the devil. Let me ask you this.
Me every time you do this.
Let me ask you this.
What?
In the world of this movie, does the Christian God exist? No. Well, let's not tackle that. In the world of this movie, do Rick O'Connell and Evelyn and Jonathan still believe in the Christian God? And more importantly, does Ardet, who is Ardet Bey, who is one of the only representations of a Muslim in cinema from the time period, depicted heroically.
Yes.
Now, this was a few months before 9/11 happened, and I don't think they would have allowed him to be in the movie, a year later.
Right.
But they have like a rousing moment where he holds up his sword, Allahu Akbar, and everyone joins in. Like, oh, what great heroes these are. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But does he believe in God? Does he believe in Allah? Because like there's
Who?
Egyptian gods are dead.
Yes,
there's
because how else would the god be the warrior for God? It's not warrior for gods.
But they're clearly gods in this movie. Other gods. There's ancient Egyptian gods.
Fine, but those are curses.
So he doesn't.
Those are demons. Those aren't good things.
It doesn't negate the religion that he believes in.
No, because he's Muslim, and Allah is the one and true God to, praise. The rest are they made out of sand and you kill them. Generation after generation, these men give up their lives, much like the men at the wall do, to protect against the bad stuff. Right, just like Game of Thrones. Why would they sacrifice like that if it weren't because they thought they were protecting or being an arm of God? It was some greater power.
But they're descended from Pharaoh's bodyguards, which way predates Islam and Christianity.
Yeah, good thing Allah came along and gave them something to fight for. I don't know.
And Pharaohs were gods.
Regardless, gods. But they were assholes. I think he just chunks all those people into there. They made a lot of curses. They were around as kind of a nuisance, and those curses still exist, but they don't. We don't have to praise them.
And you think that Rick and Evie go to church?
No. I think they go to their mansion, like a different room every day.
Do they pray to God?
They don't ever make me think yes or no, so I don't think it matters.
Well, I know it doesn't. I'm asking you what you think. Answer.
I think they're too busy and narcissistic to go to church.
But do they pray?
What? Like when they're in a foxhole?
To Jesus.
I don't know.
If you saw a mummy who was a reanimated ancient Egyptian high priest, wouldn't it make you say, maybe I'm wrong about the God I believe in? Maybe I need to start worshiping Amun-Ra?
I think they're people of books. They're book people. They're learned.
They worship books.
Well, I think you can't really read your whole life about ancient cultures and not realize that having one specific religion that you totally buy into be a good idea. I think it was a non-issue in her family growing up, and it continued being a non-issue in her present life. You could tell by its absence. She believes in the afterlife, but doesn't seem to believe in any kind of superstition to make anyone particularly happy for any reason. She opens books when she's not supposed to. She's not worried about pissing anyone off or not ending up in a good place. She just knows it's real and deals with it because all she wants to do is go down the next cave she finds. Splunking with Hunkin. Duncan? Her.
Heaven is a cave.
Her cave. Vagina joke.
Some other things I liked.
Oh my God, are we almost done?
No. We have so much more to unpack.
No, we don't.
When Ardette Bay, who I will call MVP of the movie,
Post Malone
but when the child accidentally puts on the bracelet of Anubis, and he's like, "You have unleashed a chain of events that can bring about the next apocalypse." I love that he's yelling that at a child. It's the best.
Right.
That's it. That's the only thing I like.
Jonathan's the MVP of the movie.
I mean, he's co-MVP maybe. But he has more to do in the first movie. But what a lovely character. What an amazing guy.
He's a sweetie. A scandal.
When they're in the Oasis running from the pygmy mummies, and he just runs off, and then like the guy on the evil team who's like their version of Jonathan also runs away, and they run away together, and Jonathan says, "Don't worry, they won't run past those sacred rocks," and then they do and jump and kill the bad guy. Jonathan's like, "Sorry." Like, why did he say that?
All right.
I love that he can't help but lie. And
even to the last minute when he's being very surprisingly rescued from a collapsing phantom pyramid, he takes the diamond off the top of it. He still
has to go get that gold. Now, this movie reminded me a lot of another movie that I have similar feelings for, The Lost World Jurassic Park, which I know is not a good movie. Maybe it's better than The Mummy Returns, maybe it's not. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. It can't be that bad. But it's overstuffed. It's directionless. But the weird thing is that it has a lot of similar stuff. Like, it has creatures attacking from beneath like grass that you can't see. That's like the whole sequence in the Oasis.
Yeah.
Lots of, like, and the pygmy mummies are like the compies. You know, compies, the little tiny dinosaurs.
No.
You know, little compies.
I mean, you can say it again, but I still won't know.
The little tiny predator dinosaurs.
Say it again.
Do you remember the beginning of Lost World when the girl on the island like sees a cute little dinosaur and she's like, "Here's some peanut butter," and then they all eat her?
No.
Well, that's what it's like.
Okay.
All right.
See, we still got to the same end. You just didn't have to explain it 5 times.
Great. 7 years later, they made a sequel, Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Rachel Weisz didn't return. Stephen Sommers didn't return. And Imhotep didn't return. This time, Jet Li played an ancient Chinese emperor who is the mummy this time around. This movie made decent money. I didn't see it in theaters. I think I got a Netflix DVD of it when that was a thing and watched it. I don't remember
about that.
a thing about it. So I tried to watch it last night after you went to bed.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this story isn't going to have much of me in it. So can I go?
You'll be like, we'll get a replacement wife for you. Maria Bello will come in and be.
I hope it's not an Asian person or you won't be interested.
What?
You said you weren't as interested in the ancient Japanese
I didn't say
culture.
That's why.
You said you couldn't get into that kind of mummy.
Chinese. No.
Oh.
Well, I think that I do find it less. Well, I know. Wait. How dare you? Chinese history is fascinating. I'm way more interested in Chinese history than I am in Egyptian history.
I agree.
But Egyptian mummies are more interesting than Chinese mummies.
Right, because of all the preparation and torture and different things.
I don't know why.
Well, because mummies go with ancient Egyptian, and then there's just a shit ton other cool stuff about Japanese culture, but it's not
Chinese.
Mummies. You just said, I said Chinese culture. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't need a mummy movie.
And Chinese history just seems too serious to be putting stuff like this in it.
True. Not a lot of slapstick.
Yeah. So there's like a long, 15-minute sequence that opens the movie where you see the ancient dragon emperor, and then finally cuts to the present day, and you see Brendan Fraser. And I will say this:
I didn't know he was in it.
Oh yeah, he returned. Jonathan returned, but Rachel Weisz got replaced.
Oh right, you did tell me that.
But Brendan Fraser comes on screen, and I'll admit it, I got a little weepy. I just seeing him sort of made my heart hurt a little bit. It was just so good to see him, and to see his old character, and he's trying to learn how to fly fish.
This is in good hands.
He's trying to learn how to fly fish, but he's not good at it, and he gets frustrated and starts shooting the fish.
You love that joke.
Well, because
you like it when Indiana Jones did it. I wish I had a third example.
It's some good character work because in the first 2 movies, all he's doing is shooting things. That's his only idea.
Right. He doesn't know how to get zen.
And then Mummy 3 takes place 15 years after the last one. And now Evelyn is a novelist, and we see our introduction to her. She's doing a book reading, and in the bookstore, you see the cover art for her 2 famous books, The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. And the cover art looks like Universal Studios monster movies from the 30s.
Okay.
And you see her reading, but you see her from behind, so you don't see her face. And then somebody in the audience raises their hand, and they're like, "Miss O'Connell, is it true that the character is based on you?" And then the camera turns around and looks at her, and you see it's a different actress, and she says, "No, I'm a completely different person."
Mm-hmm.
And then, she and Rick are talking about how everybody wants a third book. Well, I don't know how to do a third mummy story.
We're so it's kind of all that go
bullshit
fuck a mummy. Yeah.
I turned the movie off. I was bored by it.
Okay, good.
But they should make a new one. They should bring back Rachel Weisz, bring back Brendan Fraser, bring back Oded Fehr.
Leave Tom Cruise where he is, wherever that is.
Bring back Arnold Vosloo. Bring back Imhotep. I want all of them back.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be good unless you have the whole set. I don't need the kid.
No, fuck him. But you could do a Halloween 2018 thing where you're only making a sequel to the first movie.
Right,
and ignore everything that happened in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to ignore the second movie.
They shouldn't. That's the best movie.
Well, then why did you just say?
They could do it if they want to. I know that I'm talking way too fast. The popular perception is that the second movie is the bad one. People are wrong. It's just a flawed movie, but I love it. Bring those people back. Let the Renaissance live
Watch
forever.
over you.
Yes. That YouTube video I was talking about mentioned his idea, which was great, was the sequel should have just been they fight Dracula. They go
another monster.
That's all the Universal monster movies, and Universal Studios desperately wants to do something with those movies, with those characters. Mm-hmm. And a few years ago, they started the Dark Universe, and they could call it the Vampire, the Mummy, the Vampire, the whatever. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be the Mummy Returns. It could just move on to the next monster.
But the name recognition of Dracula
is so important.
But it's funny because don't you think Pharaoh's had name recognition too? Not really. But
it was literally a remake of a famous movie called The Mummy.
Oh,
if you were remaking Dracula, you'd want to keep the same title.
The Mummy Returns with Dracula.
Well, do you know about the Dark Universe? How they were like, all right, we have 20 movies planned out, and this guy's going to play Frankenstein, and this guy's going to play, and Russell Crowe plays Dr. Jekyll, and he's like the Nick Fury, and he like assembles the team, people who fight monsters, and then that movie did really poorly. Everyone hated it, and Universal canceled all its plans. Oh,
blew their load on Russell Crowe.
But dude, get Brendan Fraser, get Rachel Weisz right now.
Get him on the horn.
That article about Brendan Fraser talked about, where he's gone. And it seems like there were several explanations for why he kind of went away. One is that, he's a big guy and he was doing tons of stunts in all his movies, and it took a physical toll on him, and he had tons of surgeries, and
that's sad.
He was getting burnt out. He has a autistic son. And who seems like he was born right around that time, who's very important to him. And, so, I read that and I was like, oh, heart.
Yeah.
And then he also got groped by the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, who's a very powerful man in Hollywood.
Wow.
And he has his own one of the few, male on male Me Too stories. And he thinks that really hurt his career, both because this guy used his power to hurt Brendan Fraser's career, and Brendan Fraser was just emotionally and mentally damaged by this,
right,
in a way that he wasn't able to understand till then. Highly recommend that GQ article. It's great. Please let Brendan Fraser make more movies. That's The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. Thank you for letting me say all this stuff. This was 2000.
How old would his son be now? Did you say son
17,
or daughter?
17 is the son, because the article was from 2 years ago. He said in the article it was 15.
Oh, okay.
He lives on a ranch.
Who's he married to?
Horses. He was married to someone. They're no longer married.
Okay. So he's so single. That's not how I meant it.
Remember in 6th grade, we watched the Mummy in class as a day when the teacher didn't feel like doing anything. She's like, well, this is history. Mm-hmm. And a girl in class held up the video box and he said, he's so hot. And I said, he is not. And I meant it as ew, guys can't be hot. But it sounded like I was being no, he's not, but other men are. And I was so embarrassed that people thought I might be judging the hotness of a man. But he's hot.
He is hot.
All right.